And boom to the bang, what's taking place in this place? You already know what it is. It's your boy back again with another podcast. And to put things in perspective, I believe I have to go all the way to the beginning. And when I say the beginning, I mean the beginning. So we're going to be talking about Shirma, Jennifer, Daniel. That right there is my queen. So now my mother, as a lot of people may know, was born with a heart condition, and the doctors were actually surprised that she survived that long. So much so that they even instructed her to not have kids. They told her specifically having children will kill her. Now, my mom and I used to talk a lot, so she'd share all these details with me. And my brain more or less is like an elephant, so I don't forget nothing. Like I could regurgitate that information word for word like it was yesterday. And I remember she told me she had a near-death experience. Now, this is a conversation we had so much years ago. Like I was very young when we had this conversation. And what she described to me, I'm talking about years later. I heard people talk about it. Like when the camera tricks and getting things proper on film even became a thing, they actually pulled it off. And when I saw it, like I went right back to that conversation. So she was at the hospital, she was slipping away, and she told me that she felt herself getting pulled down into like this tunnel, right? And she said like the whole tunnel had these ugly hands just sticking out of the wall, and like each one of the hands was just grabbing her and pulling her downwards, right? And she said the last thing she remembered, she begged the Lord. She was like, please don't take me now. I have to see about my children. I don't want to leave my children. And she said all of a sudden she just felt herself coming back up, and then she woke up in the hospital. Now, I'm going to go a little further back. When moms was having me, she was at the hospital and they gave her something to sleep. Now, I was the second child, the middle child. My sister was first, then it's me, then my little brother. She told them that, hey, my child is coming now. The nurse is telling her, no, child is not coming now. We're going to give you something to sleep. She said, no, don't put me to sleep. I'm telling you, the child is coming now. And, you know, some of these people in the health area like to feel they know more than everybody else, right? So she keep trying to tell them while she's sleeping, because they gave her a sedative to go sleep. And she's saying, listen, he is coming now. So they put her in the room, they left her unattended. And here comes your boy peeking out, because I ready to see the world, you know? And I'm coming out. I believe the cord was around my neck. And she is trying to call out her nurse, trying to call out her doctor, because she is fighting the sedative. And it just happened to have a doctor who was passing by at that very time. And they saw her and they rushed in. They realized what was going on. So they did the delivery, but by that time I wasn't breathing for a little while. So they had to do, the little CPR pump thing. I heard the doctor spank me like about 10 times before I eventually started to cry. Fast forward a little bit, it took me a while before I started speaking, right? My mom actually said I didn't start talking until I was probably between the ages of 3 and 4. And even when I started speaking, it was like gibberish. I know if you're all acquainted with that term, but it's like you're just speaking to you. Maybe you're making sense, but nobody seems to understand what you're saying. And what she used to do now is sit with me and try to get me to piece together words. So it was kind of like homeschooling. And she took her time, and she would be like, no, say it like this. No, say it like this. Until I was capable of having conversations by myself, which I guess she probably regretted a little while after, because she said once I learned to talk, I never stopped speaking. Like, I just want to have conversations all day, all night. They're trying to sleep and I trying to talk, you know? So, and it's so funny that I actually have memories from that far back, you know? Like, I remember this one time I climbed up out of the crib and pulled down the fan. And I remember having that conversation with my mom, and I told her, I say, yeah, remember that time when I climbed out the crib and I pulled down the fan, and she was like, how do you even remember that? You know, but I don't know what happened between birth and then, but seems like my brain was just on a whole different frequency. You know, like I don't think like regular people think. My brain is always out the box. And it's more or less the reason why, you know, I guess I'm creative like that. Even though my dad was a creative, but that will be a separate topic. Today we only deal with moms, you know. And fast forward a couple of years later. Now, like I told you all, we came from very humble beginnings. We really didn't have much, but women have this gift where they can make $1 out of 15 cents. And this is a value my dad saw in my mom. When he was capable of contributing, he invested heavily in that fact. You know, so my dad had a karate dojo. The dojo came and it closed, so he was unemployed for a while, and mom's was holding down 2 jobs for us to make ends meet. And yes, there were times when, you know, we couldn't even afford to get food. Sometimes I'll have to go across to my grandmother to get something to eat, you know. But we could always depend on grandma. And unfortunately, she wasn't living that far away, literally like a couple of houses away. But she was always ready to make the ultimate sacrifice, you know, especially where her children's education is concerned, because she truly believed in us having an education. So I remember, now back in my time, it was called common entrance. I remember when we had common entrance, and even though I was light years beyond a lot of the people in my age group, so much so that they actually skipped me from standard 4. So I went from standard 3 straight to standard 5. And even though my marks was straight up college worthy, what happened is that they zoned me. So like I had one of my neighbors who I know for sure I was brighter than. He was a good friend of mine. And he got through with CIC and I got Mova Laventil. Came to find out afterwards that he did not use a Laventil address, but instead a address way out of Laventil, right? Of course, my mom's wanted to contest it because she knew that was crazy work right there. But I told her, I was like, Moms, I will hold it down in Mova. I will hold it down in Mova. And she wasn't on that. She wasn't on that. She didn't want me in Mova at all. So she tried to fight it. And I literally had to have the conversation with her. I said, Mom, I said, I will show them that I could do it in Mova. You know? And she asked me if I'm sure. I was like, yeah, I'm telling you, I could do it. And she eventually was like, all right, she let up. And we went to Mova. So from entry, your boy, well, they gave us a test to place us, and I ended up in 101, which, as far as I understand, the top students would have been like that. So it would have been like 101, 102, 103, and that is Form 1, right? So I was in 101, straight up to Form 5, and I came out really well. From there, she put me in a school called St. Augustine Community College, which was a paid school. And I'm telling you, the money wasn't really money in that time, but Mom's sacrifice. She sacrificed. She was like, you know what? You have the potential. I see the potential. I'm going hard. And she spent whatever she had to get me into that school. And of course, I was like, listen, I see what you're doing, and I'm going to make sure that your investment have excellent returns. So we went through the St. Augustine Community College. You know, favorite subjects was like POA, POB, and all those like that type of vibe. And then, of course, tertiary, where psychology was more my thing. But all in all, I have to give it up to my mom. And that is probably why it hurts so much, you know, that she went through what she went through, but in everything she showed resilience. You know, she was born with the heart condition. She got her education late in life. She got her job. Even at the job, they used to fight her down. Instead of they promoting her, they used to let her train the people that she want to promote. And I used to tell her, listen, don't train nobody. They ain't paying you for that. Don't train them. I tell her, my mom was the closest thing to a saint I come across. And it's like, even though in her mind, like the bad mind part would want to kick up and she'd be like, nah, I don't want to do it. She was just so cool and so loving. Like when my mom passed away, a lot of her coworkers came and everybody said the same thing. That was like, your mom was like a mom to me. She wasn't just your mom. This is our mom. And a lot of people came and they all said the same thing. That church was ram out. When I tell you ram out. And literally everybody had the same thing to say. Even the people who she trained for the promotions, it was like, listen, when your mom was training me, I and all was saying, better to give you the job, you know? But she never once wavered. She never once felt sorry for herself. She never once say, I can't do this, you know, or this is bigger than me. She was just always ready to take on any challenge. Hardworking, dedicated, loyal. And, you know, this is one of the main reasons why I have so much respect for women, because I had the ultimate example of a woman in my life. And I should say women because like my grandmother, my mother, even my big sister, perfect examples of what women's supposed to be. Now, I remember when mom passed away from cancer, and I'm not going to lie, I had a lot of resentment in my heart, especially where God was concerned, you know, because, you know, for somebody who went to church, who prayed so hard, who had such a good relationship with God, I find that, you know, she really suffered on her way out. And, you know, I stopped praying. I stopped going to church. I didn't even want to hear about God. Like, you know, like if it came to me with a conversation about God, I used to feel like I wanted to punch you in the face. But like even after the funeral, when I buried mom, the pastor had a word with me and, you know, he explained certain things. And, you know, like sometimes God allows certain things to happen and we don't understand why. But it's just part of a bigger picture. And it may take years before we see that picture. It may take years before we understand. But all things happen for the good. And I just had to accept that. My relationship with God is much better now. I don't do anything unless I consult with him. And I truly feel like he answers in his own way. And I know when he answers. I know exactly what he's saying. It's just a matter of paying attention. But my mom passed from cancer, and that is one of the main reasons why I'm so active with the Cancer Society. But I say all that to say this. My mom's was really, you know, a perfect example of what resilience is. Never giving up, always keeping the faith, always holding strong, never wavering, never doubting, always had that firm belief, and it was almost like you couldn't tell her anything different. So the moral of the story is, fellas, if you want to be outstanding young men, I know that there are some mothers out there that might be exceptions to the rule, but you have to respect and love your queen. You have to, you know, because how you treat your mother is pretty much how you'll treat any woman in your life. So if you're treating your mother a certain way, and ladies, these are some of the things you could pay attention to. Watch how a man is treating his mother. Some of y'all make some bad decisions where fellas are concerned. But if you pay attention, you'll see all the red flags, you'll see all the green flags. Fellas, respect all the women in your life. Treat your mother like the queen that she is. As a man, if you want to be a leader, even if your mom is not on the same page with you, get on that page. You have the power to do so. Get on that page. Pray about it if you have to. If you can't do it by yourself. You know what I'm saying? What you'll come to understand in later years is women were made to multiply. You give her sperm, she give you a child. You know, you give her groceries, she give you food. You give her a house, she makes it a home. If you want her to be your peace, it starts with you. All right. So this will be the end of episode 2. And I look forward to your comments. I look forward to your questions. I look forward to anybody who may need advice. I am here for it. All right. Feel free. Reach out to me. You already know what it is. It's your boy. Boom to the bang.